Hi, this is a short video about preparing a graph in Logger Pro for printing out in order to use that graph to make tangent lines that you can then use to make a velocity versus time graph. This data was collected from a video of a cart moving down a slope, and after collecting this data, the first step would be to make sure that it is consistent. By consistent, I mean that there's not any points that look wildly different than the other points. For example, if I looked at this and there is one point that was clearly different from all the others, that is like not consistent, not close to the points right before it or right after it, I would see that something was wrong. I would want to go back and look at the video to make sure that that point was what I thought it was. But I've done that already, and I've seen that these look pretty consistent. The two things that we want to do are set grid lines on the graph and change the scale of the graph to make it kind of zoomed in on the part that we're interested in. To add grid lines, the first thing to do is just double-click anywhere on the white space of the graph, and you can go down here. Oh, first we can add a title. Say this is position versus time graph for cart. And you can see there are already these major tick lines in solid lines. I want to add minor tick lines too. So I'm going to add solid lines here, and when I do that, you can see that I get this extra grid that wasn't there before. The next thing to do will be to zoom in on the part of the graph that we're interested in, and we can do that by double-clicking on the graph again, going to Axes Options, and changing these two values, the top value for the vertical, for what's graphed on the vertical axis, and the right value for what's graphed on the horizontal axis. You may have to change the bottom value or the left value too, depending, like I said, if you have some negative numbers on your scale, it might look very different from mine. You have to choose numbers that you think make sense given your data. My position values go up to 1.08, so I'm going to change this to say 1.2, just a little bit above 1.08. And the clock reading values go out to 1.14, so I'm going to change this to say 1.3. And when I hit OK, you can see that I see nice and large the part of the graph that I'm interested in. Once I've done this, I need to go to Logger Pro and go to File, Page Setup, and select Landscape Orientation. I want to do this so that I can print it out and it'll be horizontally oriented on the page, so it'll be as big as it can possibly be. This is going to make it easier for me to make tangent lines. So once I've selected this picture of the guy on his side, this is called landscape orientation, I can hit OK. And then I can go to print graph, and it'll print on whichever printer I want to print on. If you want to make sure that it looks correct, you can try hitting preview, and you'll get a PDF file of exactly what you're going to print out. So this looks really nice. It's got my grid lines on it, and it's nice and large, so it'll be easy for me to go in and actually draw tangent lines on this graph.